Hi, my name's Phil. I like talking about politics, and in this video I'd like to discuss how Rishi Sunak is coming under fire from his own side again against the background of his AI summit, which really was symptomatic of his entire leadership. But first, if you'd like to be notified of daily news and politics, please subscribe to the channel. So Rishi Sunak's AI summit this week, it really was a window into everything going wrong with his leadership of the government and his party. AI, like any world-changing technology, has the potential to do a lot of good, but also cause widespread harm. We can only prevent the latter by discussing it openly, as quickly as possible, and getting international agreements. So, in a sense, you would say, well, the summit last week was good then, wasn't it? Only it wasn't. Really bad. Both Rishi Sunak and his deputy, Oliver Dowden, were ridiculed over the summit at various points last week. There were several problems with the way it was organised. Like first, although discussing the problems of AI is really genuinely incredibly important, it's not necessarily obviously so to the public. Because Sunak put no effort into explaining to the public why the issue is so important, it actually looked like he was talking about some fringe issue, while way more important things are going down. We have a crisis in the Middle East, from which at the time, trapped Britons had still not emerged. The cost of living crisis was still raging. He'd had a disaster of a time during the conference season and subsequent by-elections. It was time to start looking like he was listening to the public. This was not the way to do it. It wasn't helped that the most famous exchange from the summit was Sunak speaking with Elon Musk. Musk's tech prowess, I think it's fair to say, can already be described as an illusion that has now been dispelled. So it was not exactly the star moment you'd want from a great summit. But it got worse as Sunak was contradicted by Musk on a few issues, and then the Prime Minister suggested that it would be a good thing for people to give up their jobs to run risky business ventures and be comfortable with it all going tits up. So yeah, that's the way to power up the economy, apparently. So leave your salaried jobs, which means leaving the company you've left with its own production problems. Starting a business venture, which is very, very, very risky. Having it fail, ending up with no money and huge debts. And the company you left is like struggling. Right, okay. It was just horrible from every angle. It's like he thought, well, AI is a really serious issue that we should be talking about, which is correct. And I'm sure the public are fully seized of the importance, which is incorrect. They are fully seized of the importance of the cost of living crisis. What has he got to say about that? What's that? Nothing? Oh, okay. They are fully seized of the importance of the climate emergency. What has he got to say about that? Oh, he's going to make it way worse. Right, good talk. Some are fully seized of the problems with regional inequality, being left behind if you live too far away from London. So what's he saying about that? Oh, that he's cancelling the only project that was aimed to help and pretending to spend money on projects which actually, on close inspection, have already been implemented. Right then. The AI summit this week really was a very good case study into why Sunak is failing. Like, if you were to give a lecture to Tories about what's going wrong with their strategies, you could use that AI summit as the first half to highlight some basics. If you're going to make a big deal of something you're doing in government, you're going to make a really big deal, you want all the papers on it, all the rest of it, make sure the public agree that it's a big deal. If you can't convince the public that it's important, but it is important, do it. But do it quietly behind the scenes while you make a bigger noise about something the public do feel is important. If you're going to shine a spotlight on yourself talking to someone about this really important issue, make sure they're not a deranged loose cannon who will make you look stupid. These are supposed to be political basics. Cannot tell you how bizarre it has been for me to spend most of my life learning about and observing the dark arts of British politics, only to see the rule book being thrown in the bin. Not to be replaced by a new genius level way of doing things. This wasn't Arsene Wenger coming to the Premier League. No, it was just thrown in the bin by people who were so conceited they didn't think they had anything to learn. After all, they were at the top of the political tree. How could they possibly have things to learn? And this is why the Express are again talking about the knives being out for Sunak. It's quite funny because in the same article, they describe Starmer's position as highly tenuous. They would, of course, because they're batting for the Tories, but there's a major difference. A political leader has one overriding priority: to win the next election. As long as it's clear that they're going to do that, their position is never tenuous. Leaders who are unelectable can sometimes be left in place, but ones who are going to win, they're never removed. If the polls were reversed, Starmer would have been in trouble a long time ago. And Sunak would be acting in a much less haphazard manner because he'd have the authority within his party to set the tone. A lot of his ridiculous googlies have been caused by the fact that things aren't going well. So he thinks he has to do, as was reported a while ago, mad stuff. But the polls are as they are. They're not even close or even in enough flux to suggest that things can turn around. We're now no more than a year away from the next election. Realistically speaking, that is, they're not going to have a winter election. Labour have been dominating the polls. Neither of Johnson's replacements reversed their fortunes, and they are out of options to spin the wheel again. The Express are reporting that leadership rivals are circling. Well, they may be, but I would be surprised if they gathered enough support to launch an actual attack this side of the election. In many ways, the fact that Labour are having their usual self-destructing wobbles actually makes it worse for the Tories. Because whatever aggro is being amplified in the press or even exists in some corners of the party, the fact of the matter is that the public are still seeing Labour as the party of government. In the last month, as Labour had to keep focus on the business of getting elected, as well as putting out internal fires, its lead over the Conservatives across all polls has actually gone up. It's gone up from 17-point lead to a 20-point lead. That is now the average lead. This is as much trouble as Labour are likely to find themselves in over the next year. And they've actually extended their lead over the Tories with the poll of polls. They've maintained it with YouGov specifically, but then it was quite high for them anyway, about 21. And although any Tory leader was always going to be up against it after 13 years of complete shambles, and with an incredibly divided party, it was a tough act for anyone. But Sunak is just incapable of getting anything right. His policy announcements have absolutely no public polling research behind them, as demonstrated by the fact whenever he announces them, it transpires every single time that they're actually deeply unpopular. So he's never laid the groundwork for them. He's just thought, oh, we'll do this thing. Oh, yeah, people will love that. What do you mean they didn't love it? Oh, no. Oh, we'll do this other thing. He's making no serious effort to find out what the public think. And then when he finds out actually they don't like it, to try and persuade them of something before announcing it. There's just no thought process at all, is there? Mind you, as much of a mess as Sunak is making, it's not like anyone else would be better. If Tory MPs did decide to have a punt on someone else, this lack of thought process would have extended to the rest of the parliamentary party as well. I mean, who do the Express talk about as these leadership rivals? Suella Braverman, Priti Patel, Penny Mordaunt, Kemi Badenoch, James Cleverly. James Cleverly they describe as the compromise candidate. Right then, okay. But there we are. Those are my thoughts. Let me know yours in the comments below. Hope you found the video interesting. If you did, please click the like button. And if you'd like to support the channel further, the join button for memberships. And until next time, I'll see you later.